Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Borat, a subsequent movie film. Now, as you know, Borat subsequent movie film is meant to be a 2020 mock documentary black comedy film, which of course was meant to be a sequel to the 2006 film Borat. And I think after sitting down to watch it and to get my film review done for it, the best way I would see the Borat film sequel is trying to emulate the first film, but hardly having anything interesting on the table. And the premise of the film is meant to take place 14 years after the events of the first Borat film, where we see how Borat is forced into hard labour in a gulag, and of course, because of everything that happened, because of his previous adventure in the first Borat film, we see how his country ends up being marked. People now hate him with a passion, and we see how Borat ends up being released by its country's president with a plan to deliver the Kazakhstan Minister of Culture, which of course is meant to be Johnny the Monkey, to President Donald Trump. And this is where we're going to see how Borat wants to kind of get back his family honour. He knows there can't be any screw-ups. But we see how after something that happens to Johnny the Monkey due to Borat's daughter, Borat now has to come up with plan B to use his daughter as a peace offering. And the best way I would see what the film was going for is showing how obviously, because of Borat's actions, because of everything that happened in the first film, this perfectly sums up how I think a lot of the time journalists, directors, actors, and musicians end up being hated for something they did. They end up causing controversy to their sort of group, or they end up kind of now having to face a lot of problems. But they see something as this golden ticket to try and fix their career and hope to avoid any problems. But I think the problem that I think the second Borat film has is trying to emulate the first film. And I think it's clear that they're trying to use the same thing. Like Johnny the Monkey obviously being the bear, you kind of get a sense that obviously Borat's daughter is obviously supposed to be the film sequel version to Azamat, who, unlike Azamat, to his role is more about this kind of finding her identity, trying to learn more that her culture roots were based on lies, myths, and so forth, and now seeing that Kazakhstan just made up these false tales to keep her and the female population in line. And the best way I can see what the film is trying to do is point out how there's more things about Borat's trip than there is, but I think what damages it is the enforced humour. And you can definitely tell what damaged it was definitely trying to base the truth behind it with the whole virus fiasco, and I can get it. This is meant to show how I think sometimes people will go extreme wanting revenge for being mocked and that, but they didn't have to go there. It felt a little like they wanted to do good, but they just feel a little enforced in there. And I can kind of understand what Sacha Baron was trying to do, was show people that he could still be funny, he could still be this sort of laughable guy, but it just feels like the second film is emulating the first film, and it knows that. It's putting on a different identity, it's putting on a different mask, and I think it becomes clear that the film goes from something interesting to something like, why did this had to be made? Why did this had to be made? But I think my best thoughts on Borat, the subsequent movie film, is okay, not the best. but it definitely deserves a thumbs down. This is definitely not a good Sacha Baron film, and I do not want to see another Borat film. It feels like he's trying to go back on that route, but it's clear he's trying to emulate too much. And this does become clear with film sequels, much like Star Wars, much like The Amazing Spider-Man, and so forth. So, comic book reviewer here, signing off.